Hello, everyone. As you come in, we're going to wait a couple of seconds for other folks to join us, and we'll get started in a couple of minutes. We're going to be getting started in a minute or so. We're letting folks come in and get settled. Thanks for joining us this morning. Feel free to let us know in the chat. I think only the panelists will be able to see the chat, but feel free to say hello to us in the chat. Let us know where you're calling in from. And that way we can kind of get to know you a little bit. Welcome. Joanne, do you mind calling out where folks are coming in from? That would be awesome. That way we can kind of share the the conversation if in case people can't see it on their end.
It feels like romper room. So I see Stockton, I see Irvine, Los Gatos, San Jose, Oxnard, San Bruno, Sonoma, Moore Park, Soledad, Lompoc, Morgan Hill,
All right, we got friends from near and far, sounds like.
Mm-hmm. Keep it coming. What city or town do you represent? San Diego, I see.
Yeah. We'll wait one more minute and then we'll get started. Thanks for your patience, everyone. Okay, so thanks for joining us this morning. We are going to be presenting the Department of Sociology and Interdisciplinary Social Sciences kind of overview for you today. As you know, today is the beginning of Admitted Spartan Days. And this slide here is just a reminder of some of the information sources that you can check out as you are making your decision about joining SJSU. So again, you probably have some of these links, but here they are just in case you need to check them out again. We have the links for you. Liz, do you think you can add those into the chat for our guests, just in case, again, you want to click on those and just get those windows saved for yourself. They are on the slide. And then as we get started today, we're going to do introductions and hear the names of the panelists for you today. And I'm going to let everyone say hello and introduce themselves, but here's the information in case you want to take a look at that. We have, we'll start with Dr. Tanya Bakru, and while Liz is getting the chat links in there, and then we'll end with me. Oh, Tanya, you're muted.
I'm muted. I'll figure it out by the time the pandemic is over. Good morning, everyone. It's really lovely to have you here. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Tanya Bakru. I'm a professor of Women, Gender, and Sexuality Studies. The Women, Gender, Sexuality Studies program is a smaller program that's housed in the Department of Sociology and Interdisciplinary Social Sciences. And I've been at San Jose State for about 14 years. And I'm the program coordinator of WIGS, and I also do the advising for those folks who are minoring in women, gender, sexuality studies. I guess Joanne, I'll popcorn over to Joanne.
Thank you.
Hello, everybody. I am Joanne Rondilia, and I am an assistant professor, excuse me, in sociology as well as Asian American studies. I've been here, believe this is my 4th year. Though it sounds like a long time, I still feel very new, and I would like to blame the pandemic for that. And just like the Women, Gender, and Sexuality Studies, Asian American Studies is a smaller program that is housed in sociology and interdisciplinary social sciences. Shall I popcorn over to Dr. Ducross?
Yeah, hi everyone. My name is Faustina Ducross. I'm an associate professor in the department. I've been here, this is my 8th year, and I often teach race, ethnicity classes, immigration, and I'll be teaching capstone in the fall, and I'm one of the designated sociology advisors. So when you have questions about majoring in sociology, I'm one of the folks that can help you with that. And I'm going to pass it over to Liz.
Hi, my name is Elizabeth Sweet. I am an assistant professor in sociology. I have been at SJSU since 2017, so just a little bit about the same amount of time as Dr. Rundia. Yeah, I'm one of the designated major advisors. I teach classes in quantitative research methods. I'll probably see some of you through in that form, and I also teach classes in sociology of childhood. Welcome. We're so excited to have you here today.
Thank you, everyone. So, and we also just had a note in the chat about transcripts or subtitling for the webinar today. You can click on the link that's in the chat. If you'd like to use those, you may also be able to see an option for live transcript on the bottom of your screen, but if not, you can go ahead and use that link. So let's get started with why you'd want to study sociology at SJSU. We have a really robust program. We have over 700 majors in the department. On average, our students take about 12 to 13 units per semester. Our average GPA as of fall 21 was 3.0. So you can see that our students are doing well in their studies. We have approximately 40 faculty members. And on average, we offer about 60 classes in sociology alone each semester. So that's a wide selection of your kind of core classes and your electives that you'll be able to choose from to fit your schedule. Our class sizes usually range from about 30 to 40 students, depending on the type of class. So if you're in a lower division class, you might have 40 classmates with you, but that's going to vary, depending on the time and day of the class and the semester. If you're taking upper division core classes, so those are the classes that everyone takes, you might have about 30 classmates, and then our electives usually run about 30 to 35 students in each class. So you have a nice size group of students, but not the large lectures where you don't get to get a lot of interaction with your professor and your classmates. We have a strong research method sequence. So we have 2 semesters of research methods, which includes qualitative and quantitative. So again, you get a nice balanced set of instruction in that area. We offer capstone classes, or classes that kind of are the culminating experience at the end of your degree. And we also offer a range of evening and online classes in addition to day classes. So again, you have a lot of variety in terms of the class schedule that you'll be able to build for yourself. And we have 5 concentrations within the major. So this is just a way to focus your studies on particular topics. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment. We also have an honors program. So if you're interested in kind of doing a project of research guided by a faculty member, you're able to do that with our honors program if you maintain a minimum GPA. And we also have department designated advisors, as we mentioned in the introduction. So that means that you have folks that who you can go see when you have advising questions about your major. And then as we will discuss further, and you might have gotten a sense from Dr. Rondilia and Dr. Bakru, right? We also have some minors that are in the department. So you'll be able to, again, know who you are supposed to see about those minors if you choose one of those within our department. And also just want to say, if you have questions, you can feel free to start populating the Q&A section as well. So we'll be able to kind of see what common questions come up. You might be able to see the questions that other folks post as well. And if you have the option, you can also kind of put a thumbs up on that so that, if it's a similar question you want to ask, we can see the ones that are the most popular. So feel free to do that, and we'll be answering those. So this one, I think, is a slide for Liz. So I'm going to pass it over, and then let me know when you want me to change the slide for you, and then I'll go ahead and do that.
Sounds good. Great. So one of the questions that I think people come into this program with a lot is, well, what can I do with a degree in sociology? And I actually think that in this moment in time, students who come out with a degree in sociology are really well poised for a lot of different careers. Many of our students do go on to careers in the social services. So a lot of students go on to programs in social work, different kinds of social service jobs, sales and marketing, administrative support, teaching. So we have a lot of students who go on to careers in teaching at all different levels, service occupations, IT, public relations, counseling, be it counseling in schools, becoming a therapist, all different kinds of counseling, human relations, research, and there are a lot of different graduate programs that students go on to. So one of the really awesome things about sociology is there are so many directions that you can go. Sometimes that can feel a little overwhelming, right? So one of the things that you do need to do is, you may need to figure out how the skills that you're getting as a sociology student are relevant to different careers, but they are. You're going to come out with research skills, you're going to come out with critical thinking skills, you're going to come out with communication skills, writing skills. So you're going to be well positioned for a lot of different types of careers. And we have great resources here on campus. We have a wonderful career center and lots of advisors that can help you as you think through those things. Okay, I think next slide. So we are talking about kind of sociology as a major. It is the case that all of our major programs are sociology focused. However, we actually have not just one major, but we have 5 different majors. What distinguishes those majors is really the choice of elective classes. So all sociology students will take the same core classes, but there are a set of each student chooses 5 major elective classes. I like to think of those classes, if you can imagine, each concentration having a bucket of classes to choose from for the electives. So what differs between these concentrations really are the choice of electives in the bucket. So the BA in sociology is the option where most of our students land. It is the most flexible in that we have a wide range of sociology elective classes to choose from. And so it's very flexible. It's very easy to kind of find classes that meet your interests and that meet your schedule. Some students are really more interested in focusing their study on sort of macro sociology, community change, different kinds of social movements. For these students, they might want to focus their elective studies in that particular way. So the BA Sociology concentration in community change allows students to really focus in on that with their elective studies. Similarly, our BA in sociology with a concentration in social interaction, here your choice of electives, it's a much smaller bucket, but those classes in that bucket focus on micro sociology. So social interaction, socialization, personality, behavior. Those 2 concentrations, all of the elective classes are in sociology. It's just a much smaller bucket out of that larger bucket of sociology electives. Our other 2 concentrations are a bit different in that for these concentrations, most of your elective classes will actually not be sociology classes. They will be classes in another department or program. So our BA Sociology concentration in race and ethnic studies, for this concentration, your elective classes will be interdisciplinary. And so you'll be taking a class in Asian American Studies, a program in our department, which Professor Rundila will be talking about. African American Studies, Chicano Studies, and Native American Studies. So for this concentration, actually most of your elective classes would not be sociology classes. And last but not least, we have our BA Sociology with a concentration in women, gender, and sexuality studies, which Professor Bakru is going to talk to you more about. So I'm not going to go into too much depth on that. But again, concentration classes would allow you to sample both sociology and women, gender, and sexuality studies classes. So one thing I want to make clear, a question that a lot of times students have is, one, to what extent does being in one concentration matter if I want to get into a particular career? And I don't think they're really so much designed to get you into a particular career, so much as designed to focus your studies in a particular way. The other question that sometimes people have is, I came in and I declared this concentration, but I would like to actually be in this other concentration or not to have a concentration. And you can absolutely change between these concentrations early on in your studies. So if you were interested in doing that, an advisor could help you after you had started classes. Okay. Next slide. And I'm going to now hand it over to Dr. Bakru, who's going to talk to you about the Women, Gender, and Sexuality Studies program.
Thanks. So in Women, Gender, and Sexuality Studies, we offer 2 kind of degree options, I guess you could say. One is what Dr. Sweet was just talking about, which is the concentration in sociology. So you're actually majoring in sociology with a concentration in women, gender, sexuality studies. And like she said, all the, core classes and everything are the same. The only difference is just these kind of like 15 units of WIGS classes that you would take. So that's one option. Another thing you can do is you can minor in women, gender, sexuality studies, which is also 15 units. It's 5 classes, and it's a really great complement to any major. So say you were doing the, kind of like general sociology major, and you wanted to add a WIGS minor. That's totally great. Or you come into San Jose State, you realize, oh, actually, I want to major in something totally different, and you change your major. You can still add women, gender, sexuality studies minor, which is again just these 15 units, 5 classes. And I found that most of the students who are either doing the sociology concentration in women, gender, sexuality studies, or come into our program because they're minoring in women, gender, sexuality studies, are just really passionate about issues of gender justice, understanding the intersections of gender, race, class, sexuality, and that is transferable, honestly, for like any career or any further education. And if you want to go to law school, or if you're going into social work, or any kind of further education too. And a lot of our students who have graduated, sorry for the screaming in the back, my son is playing Pokemon Go and he's very excited right now. A lot of the students that we've had in women, gender, sexuality studies have gone on to, well, one thing is they've gone on to further their education in PhD programs, doing social work or marriage and family therapy, MFT programs, law school. So it's a really good kind of pathway into furthering your education. But our graduates of either the sociology concentration or the minor have also gone on to do things like work at Planned Parenthood or work at the LGBT Center, or do diversity work in corporations or nonprofits, do domestic violence or intimate partner violence, rape crisis center, or rape crisis hotline work, or even going into like the government policy making, working for the county or working for the state. So there's like a lot of different ways that you can apply your women, gender, sexuality studies, either minor or concentration. And we also have a feminist lecture series that we invite scholars who are working on issues of the intersections of gender, race, class, sexuality, and so forth. And they come in and speak at San Jose State. Our faculty are amazing. And like I said, most of the students that are in our program in one way or another are just really passionate about these issues and are really interesting people too. So if you want to take classes with like-minded folks, or, just kind of connect with your people, this is a really great place to do that in the classes that our program offers. Thanks.
So next we'll have Dr. Rondilia share about the Asian American Studies program.
Okay, hello everybody. So yes, the Asian American Studies program, again, we have a minor program. We are part of the concentration in race and ethnicity, but with a minor in Asian American Studies, you are really focusing on the Asian American community here in the United States. So in terms of what you will be learning in our classes, Asian American Studies is an interdisciplinary it's an interdisciplinary field, and so it covers everything from history, sociology, politics, and more the creative arts. And in order to gain a minor in Asian American Studies, it's 15 units or 5 classes, 4 of which are already covered in the GE requirements. And so what we tell a lot of our students is, if you have already taken 3 or 4 of those classes because you were trying to meet your GE requirements, you may as well take the additional 1 or 2 courses left to, to fulfill the minor. So in terms of why one would want to be an Asian American Studies minor, there are a lot of reasons. One, as we all know, K through 12 education is very poor when it comes to ethnic studies, and in particular, Asian American Studies. And so what we do is we help to fill in those educational gaps. An Asian American Studies minor is a great supplement to anything that you are currently majoring in, whether it be sociology, nursing, business, etc. And this is because Asians in the United States are the fastest growing ethnic minority in the country. As the years go on, what you are going to see is the incredible power, political power that Asian Americans are going to have. But when you go into the job market, whether you're working in the social services or in the tech industry, it's a good idea to have a sense of who this community is. And so that's what we provide you. We have classes in that address specific ethnic communities, such as the Filipinx experiences classes, the Southeast Asian diaspora classes. We also have a class in pop culture and media representation. That's actually a class that I teach. And then we also have a theories and methods class. This is among some other classes that we offer. Let's see if you could do the next slide, Faustina. And so this is just an example of some of the events that we have coordinated. We actually have one coming up in a few weeks on April 15th, and in that event, it is examining the history of Asian American and Pacific Islander activism here in Santa Clara County. So if you have any questions, Dr. Yvonne Kwan, who unfortunately could not be here today, she is the primary advisor, but any of us in Asian American Studies are more than happy to meet with all of you to have a chat about what our program offers. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Dr. Rondelia. So next, I'm gonna give you a quick overview about how advising works at San Jose State. We like to think of our advising structure as a team effort. So for major advising in sociology, you could talk to Dr. Sweet or myself, and there's some other faculty advisors. We have a link in the chat so you can see what our advisors page looks like. And so we again help you with the major advising. If you have a minor, like say you wanted to pick up Asian American Studies or WIGS minor, right, you could talk to Dr. Bakru or Dr. Rondelia, or if it's another minor on campus, right, you would talk to the minor advisors for that department. And then we also have a team of GE advisors in our Access Center. It stands for Academic Counseling Center for Excellence in the Social Sciences. So it's a handy acronym. But you have access to general ed advisors. They help you with the kind of rules and regulations for the university and all the GE requirements that the university as a bigger institution has for you in order to complete your degree. So again, we think of this as a team effort so that you, can get advising from these different points, and then you put that together and you kind of get your whole picture. But we also can help confirm, things, across offices, and that it just kind of helps you feel like you're getting the same answers from multiple people that makes you feel secure about your pathway onto finishing your degree. So our next kind of portion in the presentation is to address any questions that you have. I answered a couple in the Q&A already, so you might want to take a look at those questions that were answered They had to do with, one of them was about advising in terms of like when you get to start seeing, what classes come in from your, if you're a transfer student, for example, and what's going to count for what, when you'll start to kind of get that information. One of the first spaces that you get to do that is in the orientations. Once you accept, you'll get more information about those orientation dates. But we provide advising there. And then we also had a question about adding concentrations. And that's actually, as I wrote in the Q&A answer, right? It's a pretty simple process. If you did say come in with general sociology selected, you can always talk to an advisor once classes begin in the fall, or sometime after that, if you make that decision later. And we can help you switch over to, say you wanted to add the WIGS concentration, right? You can do that pretty simply. And we just kind of help you plan that out. So we look forward to seeing what other questions you might have for us. Go ahead and put those in the Q&A. And we'll keep an eye out on those. So again, you can ask us questions kind of generally about the departments, the program, any of the information that we shared with you so far, or any other questions that come up. And I think you can also raise your hand. And if you see a raise hand option on the bottom of your screen, that means you can. You'll see a little hand there, and we can also unmute you if you'd like to ask your question.
There's a question in the chat about, is there any way to access the PowerPoint later?
Yeah, I think generally on the Admitted Spartan Days website, you put the link up for the video. So you'll have that. And if they have links for the slides there, then then it'll be on that page as well. And then, yeah, we have that in the chat. The link for that Admitted Spartan Days website for the College of Social Sciences, which is where our department is housed.
There's a question in the Q&A. Is it possible to double major in sociology and business or get a minor in business?
Yes, so our students are able to do minors in, in almost any other minor program if it's, not too much overlap with your major. So there's some university rules about how many units need to be separate in a minor and a major, and that goes for a double major as well. So we have double majors. It's less common, but it's still possible. And that's something that you would talk with one of your major advisors in sociology, and also then you would talk to a major advisor in that department where you'd like to do the other major. And then we help you kind of plan it out, see if you have room in your schedule, and make sure there's not too much overlap between programs to make sure that that's a possibility for you. But business and sociology, I'm certain there's not a lot of overlap, so that should be no problem.
Can I just tag on to that and just say that it's very common for students to pick up a minor. It's not required. So sometimes folks feel like you have to have a minor, you don't. But the reality is that there's a few, several things you have to do to graduate with your degree. You have to meet all your university requirements, so your general education requirements, your PEs and whatnot. You have to meet all your major requirements. Those are all the core and elective classes required for the sociology major, whichever concentration you're in. And you have to earn 120 units. The reality is you're going to earn all those, or you're going to meet all those requirements and still need to take some classes to earn those units. So some students use those in a focused way to pick up a minor, and that can be a really great option. Most folks do have that possibility. But you can also just use those classes to take things that you're interested in as well.
There's another question in the Q&A, which is, or two more. One is there a study abroad program for sociology majors? And then the other question is, what minors would pair well with the concentration in social interaction?
So there, did you want, I'll take the study abroad one.
Okay.
There is not a specific study abroad program for sociology majors, but there is a study abroad program at San Jose State. And I know a lot of students who have been a part of that. So there's definitely study abroad opportunities for sociology majors. And you would want to meet with advisors just to make sure that we plan out so that you will be able to meet requirements needed during that opportunity.
And I just want to add to, well, it's not like an official study abroad program. Sometimes we have faculty who teach classes that are an abroad traveling opportunity. So we've had in the past, and this is pre-COVID, a professor who taught a class that involved travel to Thailand. And it was a sociology upper division class that was used to give the students credit for that. It doesn't go toward a major requirement per se, but it is something that you could earn units for, but it was just one class worth over the summer. So it's not quite like a full kind of study abroad experience where students are gone for a whole semester and so forth, but that has been offered in the past.
I put the link for study abroad in the chat for folks who are more interested in that. And I think they have all the different, on that website, they have all the different kind of options about a whole semester or just like a short period of time, like over the summer. There's different options.
Thank you. And then that question about the minors, what pairs well with concentrations and social interaction. Actually, really, again, almost any minor is a possibility for students in sociology. It kind of depends on what is bringing you to that minor, what interests you about it. You might think about, is it something that's going to go toward preparing you for a specific career path, or you just really love that, content. That's really how students decide whether or not they want to minor. But really, again, no one says you have to take a minor, and no employer is really going to say, oh, you don't have a minor, we don't want you, right? So again, it's really just something that is individual to the student in terms of their interests. So that's really how we encourage students to kind of think about minors is, if you really love this content and you want a focused or structured way of studying and learning more about that topic, then that minor might be a good option for you. Like as a counter example, like in sociology, we actually also have an education minor, but that one is going to overlap a lot with the sociology major. And so like that's not going to be the best option because you might not meet those rules about having enough separate units for a minor and a major. But again, really almost anything else is going to be, an option for you.
We had a question in the chat that I wanted to answer about whether we have summer or winter classes in sociology, and the answer is yes to both of those. We do offer a selection of classes every summer session and winter intersession. So generally, I know the chair tries to offer sections of core classes during those, but whether a particular class will be offered in a particular session is sort of depends on staffing. But nevertheless, it is possible to complete classes in sociology during those intersessions, and that's an option that some students choose for. I see we have another great question in the chat about what the difference is between a concentration and a minor. So for the concentration, the classes that you take are the elective classes count towards your major requirements. So what distinguishes those concentrations again is the choice of those 5 elective classes. So other than those 5 elective classes, every sociology student takes the same core classes. For a minor, generally our minors are between 15 and 18 units at San Jose State. And so those classes would all be sort of focused on that minor and would be in addition to classes that you take for the major. So you could have a concentration in women, gender, and sexuality studies and an Asian American studies minor, right? Those two things are kind of separate from one another, but can complement one another.
Thank you. We had another question in the chat about whether the question was, is it best to follow the roadmaps or for the major online? And so we had in the chat some links to the different concentrations for the majors in sociology, and you'll find roadmaps there, but there are also a lot of other resources as well, different handouts and things. So it kind of depends on what is the most effective for you in terms of, visually, like how do you like to see information? Do you like to, print things out and check it off? You can also find a lot of information on your student profile once you are admitted. There's a screen called My Progress that shows you all of the classes and that are required, and it kind of keeps a tab for you of what's completed, what's in progress, and what do you need to do. And so there's that method of kind of checking your progress in the major. Again, we have handouts that you can print out and fill in the different semesters when you're going to take things. The roadmaps are useful kind of for an overall picture, also for like your university and GE requirements in addition to the major. So you can use all of these tools as they kind of fit with your style of planning and keeping track of this kind of information. But those are definitely one of those tools that can be helpful for students. We also had a question in the Q&A about whether psychology is a good minor to pair with sociology. And we definitely, yes, do have a lot of students who are interested in both of those topics. And, we see that, psychology minors, within our department, we see, the flip side of that. We see a lot of psychology majors who minor in sociology. Right. So those topics, are interesting because they are both ways of kind of understanding humans and human behavior. Right. But you'll get those kind of different perspectives within the discipline. So that could definitely be a good match, especially if it does kind of pair up well with some of maybe the career goals that you have in mind. Right. We have a lot of students who are interested in counseling, for example, and they like to kind of have both of these perspectives, as they go on to plan for graduate degrees in counseling, because you get, again, those kind of different perspectives on how humans kind of operate. So that would definitely be, a good match, especially if you're interested in psychology, right? That's, I think, the key thing.
Can I add a little something about about minors, which is that minors are a really great way to get like something to show for a topic that you're interested in, but maybe didn't have all the time, or for whatever various reasons, maybe it didn't align with your career goals to major in that field. So you can minor in anything, I mean, if you have an interest in something, but maybe it's not something that you can focus your whole academic career on, you can minor in that. And that's how a lot of WIG students, women, gender, sexuality studies students end up in WIGs, and having a WIGs minor is that maybe they took a GE class that was women, gender, sexuality studies. They thought, oh, I really like this, but I'm already committed to this major, or I want to do this major, but I can take these classes and I'm really interested in women, gender, sexuality studies, and that kind of complements what they're already doing. And a lot of times I have students who, declare the minor sort of later, closer to their graduation, not their first year in or second year in, but maybe their third or fourth year in, because they've taken classes through general education in different departments. They're like, oh, I'm interested in this, but maybe I can't spend my whole, all my classes or all my coursework on this topic, but I want to still, have something to show for this interest. And I think Asian American studies probably is the same. Like a lot of students are from all over the university, business, computer science, nursing, accounting, like so many different students, and then they end up minoring in this topic because they have an interest in it.
Yeah, if I could say something else about minoring and choosing a minor, depending on what your primary major is, a minor is something that can be for you, the student. As someone who teaches in Asian American studies, what I often get are students who are majoring in such and such major because this is what their parents want them to. And then the minor becomes the space that is for them, for their own learning and their own enrichment. Given the questions that we've been seeing here, I really appreciate students being very strategic about, what they're going to major in and what they're going to minor in and all of that. I think that it's a good move on all of you. But as you're making these choices, are you going to do a concentration? Are you going to do a minor? Something to keep in mind is, what are the transferable skill sets that each is going to offer you? And the reason why I mention that is because with a degree like sociology, there's so many things that you can do. Right. And so, and the reason why you have so many options is because we set you up well in terms of the skill sets. So if you're interested in choosing a minor, think about what are the supplementary skill sets and supplementary knowledges that you would like to add. And that's usually a good way to strategize. If you want to add a minor, or not. So just some things to think about.
Thank you for those perspectives. Yeah, and we have, I guess I'm just going to add this onto the concentration question that we have in the chat. Why have a concentration? And I think it would just echo the same kind of answer that that we just heard, about minors. It's really about, what do you really love? What do you want to learn about? And if there's, a specific kind of career path that you see that might be, lined up with that concentration. But again, the concentration isn't going to determine, your whole future. Like, even if you just did general sociology, you could still end up in the same place as if you had a concentration in social interaction. But again, it really just is a way for you to structure the classes that you pick, because you might have a particular interest in that topic, and it kind of gives you a guide. So that's how the concentrations, I think, are best framed for the department. And then I had also seen, I had a question that was in the Q&A about other programs. So how does SJSU, or what differs in SJSU's sociology program compared to other CSUs? And I mean, it's a good question, right? Because that's a decision that you are going to be making, right? I think that, I don't know all the different features of, all of the CSU programs, but we heard about the different opportunities in terms of, what kinds of classes you get in sociology. So that might be a way for you to kind of compare programs is, if you're really interested in having some of those transferable skills like research methods, right, that you can use in your future careers, right, you might see, well, we have two, research method classes that kind of give you, a good depth of understanding about how to do social science research. Maybe another program doesn't have that, and that was something that you're kind of interested in, right? So looking at the different course offerings might be a way for you to look at those comparisons. We've talked about the different minor programs and all of the enrichment that comes with that, like with the activities and public lectures and so forth, right? There's a lot of opportunity to engage, with the SJSU community here on campus, but also the surrounding San Jose community, Silicon Valley, right? So those are things that you also want to consider when you're comparing programs, just, the different kind of options for enrichment outside of the classroom as well. Is it a place that you want to live, right? So all of those things are going to go into your decision. But you'll find that, you'll probably learn about sociological theory in all of the CSU programs, right, in sociology, right? So those things are going to be, there are going to be some stuff that's the same, but look at those differences and see what's appealing for you as you make that decision.
I may be biased, but we do have the best faculty.
Okay, yeah, there's that.
That's what I was going to say too. I was like, well, our faculty is pretty awesome. So.
And students, our students are fantastic as well. Even during the pandemic, students, have found ways to support one another. In times when we were virtual, students, were creating their own Discord servers and connecting in that way. In the classroom, I see students supporting one another, sharing information and resources. And we just have such a great community. I would say that, our department is a great community of faculty, students, and staff. What other questions do you all have? I know there must be at least one or two out there.
Yeah, you have us until about 12, so feel free to make use of that time. And just as we wait for some more questions to pop up, I'm sure you saw this, right? I added the contact information on this slide just so you can start to see that in case people were going to be, starting to head out. But you have, the department website here. You have the Admitted Spartan Days website. And then here's our contact information. So feel free to reach out to us. If you do have follow-up questions that you'd like to ask us, we are available, to help you make some your decision if you have some, open-ended questions that you didn't get a chance to have answered.
I do see a question in the chat. Maria asks, is the Soci 100W required for the elective requirements for sociology community change? That's a great question. So 100W is a class that every SJSU student takes, okay? Usually in the first semester of the junior year. The 100W class that you take is department specific. So every sociology student will take 100W, Soci 100W, regardless of which concentration you're in. That's part of our sociology core. And generally students take our social theory class along with that. So those are classes that if any of you are incoming transfer students, we may be advising you during our orientation sessions to take those classes. If you are one of those incoming transfer students, you will definitely have that opportunity to chat with us about classes in the future.
So it looks like that was our one additional question. I don't see any other questions in the Q&A box, but again, feel free to add. There we go. We have one question about how much of the sociology classes are in person. And so that is a great question. As we are planning for fall, we are using a guideline of about 75% in person, and then we'll have a mix of online type classes. So it might be purely online with no meeting times, but we might also have hybrid online classes. Those are all kind of categorized in the online bucket. But about 75% are planned to be in person for fall. And this is something that is dependent on conditions, right? As we know, we've had to be flexible if things change, but that's as our plan so far. And this semester, for example, we're planning for about 50%, right? So we've been seeing an increase in the number of in-person classes as circumstances have evolved with COVID. And we have another question. What are some classes involving Chicano Latinx studies? Right now, I don't know if anybody else wants to answer this one, but right now we have mostly kind of like general sociology topics in the sociology curriculum, but this can change depending on how we hire. And so when we have, calls for different faculty to come on board, right, this can change, depending on their expertise. And so that is something that we are actually looking toward building in our department. So we might have more of those in the future, but we also have options again, for you to take classes on the whole campus, right? You're going to have GEs. We have Chicano Studies department that has a minor that might be an option until we get more of those classes in our specific sociology roster. And we have another question. Are there opportunities to work with the San Jose community, like internships, for example? Do you want to take that one?
Yeah,
Liz?
I can take that one. Yeah, so there are a lot of opportunities for internships at San Jose State. There is a tool that's run through online tool through the Career Center called SJSU Handshake, where you can find all kinds of internship opportunities. It is possible to do internships for course credit with a little bit of work with the faculty member, but many of our students do go on to do internships, particularly those students who are interested in, maybe a career in social work, which might require a little bit of experience to get into a graduate program in addition to your studies. So those opportunities are definitely there. What other questions do you all have? There must be one more question out there.
Yeah, we have 3 minutes.
And just so you know, if you do, I'm the person that always comes up with the question the minute the session is over. If you have additional questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. We will be around. If you're admitted and you have a question that comes up over the summer, fear not, I'll be doing summer advising, so you can reach out to me. We do have people around to help you. So I know it can be a little confusing, like, who do I ask my question to? You can always reach out to us and we will direct you in the right place if we're not the person to answer that question.
Yeah, and since we are coming closer to time, and if there's another question which I see popping up there, we'll answer that. But I just want to say also too that we are, happy that you joined us. We are, looking forward to, your decision, and we hope you do choose SJSU. And so feel free again to, reach out if you have more questions before you make your decision or after you make your decision. And we have this other question that popped up. Do sociology professors typically upload recordings of lectures? So I think that probably, is varied depending on the circumstances, right? A lot of the online courses for sure had lectures that were recorded. But that's going to vary by professor. And so I don't have like a percentage on how many do and how many don't, but especially again, with the circumstances where we all were learning how to do more online teaching, right? That facilitated, us, having more access and knowledge around these tools. So, we might, many of us might be carrying a lot of that forward with us, even if we are teaching in person, but that's going to vary based on, the class and the professor and the style of the, of the class that you have. So if there's a lot of, class discussion, right, there might be fewer opportunities to do like a recording, for example. But thank you. That was a great question. So any other last questions? I'm going to change this screen just so you can see that Admitted Spartan Day page again, just in case you need those links. But again, we are glad that you were able to join us today, and be sure to check out all of these pages so that you know what your next steps are for, campus tours and all of the pre-admission information and all of that good stuff. Okay. Thank you, everyone, for being here with us.
We are so hoping to see you all in the fall. It's been a pleasure to have this opportunity to chat with you today. So thanks, everyone.
And we're just gonna let everyone exit and we'll wrap up.
That was great, everybody. Thank you.